Solved problems. Complete accounting cycle from chart of accounts to post-closing trial balance including 10-column worksheet. Chart of accounts, journal, ledger, trial balance, adjusting entries, 10-column worksheet, adjustment ledger, adjustment trial balance, income statement, balance sheet, post-closing journal, post-closing trial balance. Problem. John Johnson opened Lola's All-Star Tennis shop on July 1, 2018. During July, the following transactions were completed. The company uses perpetual inventory system in recording inventory transactions. July 1. Invested 1 million cash as startup capital for the newly opened business. July 1. Purchased used truck for 200,000, paying 100,000 cash and the balance on account. July 2. Purchased 850,000 of merchandise, terms 2/10, N/30. July 3. Purchased office supplies for 2,000 cash. July 5. Paid 24,000 cash on 1-year insurance policy effective July 1. July 5. Paid 36,000 cash on 1-year rent of the office effectively July 1. July 6. Sold merchandise for cash 800,000, cost of sales 544,000. July 7. Paid 15,500 in freight costs on the purchases on July 2 above. July 8. 20,000 of the merchandise purchased in July 2 above were returned. July 10. Paid for the purchase in July 2 above within the discount period. July 12. Sold 100,000 of merchandise on account, terms 2/10, N/30. Cost of sales 68,000. July 15. 12,000 of the 100,000 sale in July 12 was returned and restored in inventory. Cost of sales 8,160. July 15. Paid salaries of 60,000. July 18. Paid 50,000 cash on amount owed on truck. July 21. Collected within the discount period the balance owing regarding the sale in July 12. July 25. Billed customer for the merchandise sold worth 80,000 on account, terms 2/10, N/30. Cost of sales 54,400. July 28. Paid gas and oil for month on truck 10,000. July 31. Withdrew 30,000 cash for personal use. The chart of accounts for Lola's All-Star Tennis contains the following accounts. 101. Cash. Number 102. Accounts receivable. Number 103. Merchandise inventory. Number 104. Office supplies. Number 105. Prepaid insurance. Number 106. Prepaid rent. Number 107. Equipment. Number 108. Accumulated depreciation equipment. Number 201. Accounts payable. Number 202. Salaries payable. Number 301. Johnson Capital. Number 302. Johnson Drawing. Number 303. Income summary. Number 401. Sales. Number 402. Sales returns and allowances. Number 403. Sales discounts. Number 501. Cost of goods sold. Number 502. Gas and oil expense. Number 503. Office supplies expense. Number 504. Depreciation expense. Number 505. Insurance expense. Number 506. Salaries expense. Number 507. Rent expense. And number 508. Advertising expense. Required. A. Prepare the chart of accounts. B. Journalize and post the July transactions. C. Prepare a trial balance at July 31 on a worksheet. D. Enter the following adjustments on the worksheet and complete the worksheet. 1. The 1 month rent has expired. 2. The depreciation on truck for the month is 3333. 3. 14,000 of advertising had been incurred but was unpaid and unrecorded. 4. The 1 month insurance has expired. 5. The physical count of the merchandise inventory revealed a balance of 170,660. Remaining office supplies is 800. Accrued but unpaid employee salaries were 60,000. E. Prepare the income statement, balance sheet and cash flow statement at July 31. F. Journalize and post adjusting entries. G. Journalize and post closing entries and completed closing process. H. Prepare a post closing trial balance. Solution. Low loss All-Star Tennis Shop chart of accounts, balance sheet accounts 100, assets 101, cash 102, accounts receivable 103, merchandise inventory 104, office supplies 105, prepaid insurance 106, prepaid rent 107, equipment 108, accumulated depreciation on equipment 200, liabilities 201, accounts payable 202, salaries payable 203, advertising payable 300, owners equity 301, Jason capital 302, Jason drawing 303, income summary 400, revenues 401, sales 402, sales returns and allowances 403, sales discounts 500, cost and expenses 501, cost of goods sold 502, gas and oil expenses 503, office supplies expense 504, depreciation expense 505, insurance expense 506, salaries expense 507, rent expense 508, advertising expense. General Journal July 1, invested 1 million cash as a startup capital for the newly opened business. Date particulars PR debit credit July 1, 101 cash debit 1 million, 301 Jason capital credit 1 million, being the cash brought into business by Jansen. July 1, purchased used truck for 200,000, paying 100,000 cash and the balance on account. 107 equipment debit 200,000, 101 cash 100,000 credit, 301 accounts payable 100,000 credit, being the used truck bought for business. July 2, purchased 850,000 of merchandise, terms 2/10 n/30. 103 merchandise inventory debit 850,000, 201 accounts payable 850,000, being the merchandise bought on account. July 3, purchased office supplies of 2,000 for cash. 503 office supplies expense debit 2,000, 101 cash credit 2,000, being the office supplies bought for cash. July 5, paid 24,000 cash on 1-year insurance policy effective July 1. July 5, 505 insurance expense debit 24,000, 101 cash credit 24,000, being the insurance premium paid for 1 year. July 5, paid 36,000 cash on 1-year rent of the office effective July 1. 507 rent expense debit 36,000, 101 cash credit 36,000, being the office rent paid for 1 year. July 6, sold merchandise for cash 800,000. 101 cash debit 800,000, 401 sales credit 800,000, being the merchandise sold for cash. July 6, sold merchandise for cash, cost of sales 544,000. 501 cost of goods sold 544,000 debit, to merchandise inventory 544,000 credit, being the cost of goods sold on the sales July 6. July 7, paid 15,500 in freight costs on the purchase of July 2 above. 501 cost of goods sold 15,500, 101 cash credit 15,500, being the freight expense on the purchases. July 8, 20,000 of the merchandise purchased in July 2 above were returned. 201 accounts payable debit 20,000, 501 cost of goods sold 20,000, being the merchandise bought on July 2 returned. July 10, paid for purchase in July 2 above within the discount period. Accounts payable debit 830,000. The cost of goods sold credit 16,600, 101 cash 813,400, being the amount paid to suppliers in full settlement. July 12, sold 100,000 of merchandise on account, terms to bet n/30. 102 accounts receivable debit 100,000, 401 sales credit 100,000, being the merchandise sold on credit. July 12, sold 100,000 of merchandise on account, terms to bet n/30, cost of sales 68,000. 501 cost of goods sold 68,000 debit, 103 merchandise inventory credit 68,000, being the cost of goods sold on the sale of merchandise on 12th July. July 15, paid salaries 60,000. July 15, 506 salaries expense debit 60,000, 101 cash credit 60,000 being the salaries paid. July 15, 12,000 of the 100,000 sale in July 12 was returned and restored to inventory. 402 sales returns and allowances debit 12,000, accounts receivable credit 12,000. Being the goods on sold July 12 were returned in part. 12,000 of the 100 sale in July 12 was returned and restored to inventory, and the cost of sale is 8,160. 103 merchandise inventory debit 8,160 to cost of goods sold 8,160, being the reversal of cost of sales and goods returned. July 18 paid 50,000 cash on amount owed on truck. 201 accounts payable debit 50,000, cash credit 50,000, being the half of the dues on the purchase of truck paid. July 21 collected within the discount period the balance owing regarding the sale. July 12 cash debit 86,240, 403 sales discount 1,760, 102 accounts receivable 88,000, being the amount received from customers within the due date. July 25 billed customer for the merchandise sold worth 80,000 on account terms 2/10 N/30, cost of sales 54,400. 25th July 102 accounts receivable debit 80,000, 401 sales credit 80,000, being the goods sold on credit. July 25 billed customer for the merchandise sold worth 80,000 on account and the terms 2/10 N/30, cost of sales is 54,400. July 25 501 cost of goods sold debit to merchandise inventory 54,400, being the cost of goods sold on the sale of goods on July 25. July 28 paid gas and oil for month on truck 10,000. July 31 withdrew 30,000 cash for personal use. 502 gas and oil expense debit 10,000, 101 cash credit 10,000. 302 Jason drawing debit 30,000, 101 cash credit 30,000, being the amount paid for withdrawal by Mr. Jason. Ledger 101 cash account. July 1 301 Jason capital 1 million debit. July 1 107 equipment 100,000 credit. July 3 503 office supplies account 2,000 credit. 1st July 505 insurance expense credit 24,000. 5th July 507 rent expense credit 36,000. 6th July 401 sales debit 800,000. 7th July cost of goods sold credit 15,500. 10th July 201 accounts payable 813,400 credit. 15th July 506 salary expense 60,000 credit. 18th July 201 accounts payable 50,000 credit. 21st July 102 accounts receivable 86,240 debit. 20th July 502 gas and oil expense 10,000 credit. 31st July Jason drawing 30,000 credit. Closing balance in cash account is 745,340 debit. 102 accounts receivable. 12th July 401 sales 100,000 debit. 15th July 402 sales return and allowances 12,000 credit. 21st July 101 cash 86,240 credit. 21st July 403 sales discount 1,760 credit. 25th July 401 sales 80,000 debit. The closing balance in accounts receivable account is 80,000 debit. 103 merchandise inventory. 2nd July 201 accounts payable debit 850,000. 6th July cost of goods sold credit 544,000. 12th July 501 cost of goods sold 68,000 credit. 15th July cost of goods 8160 debit. 25th July cost of goods sold 54,400 credit. Closing balance in merchandise inventory account is 191,760 debit. 107 equipment. 1st July 101 cash debit 100,000. 1st July 201 accounts payable debit 100,000. Total debit balance in equipment account is 200,000. 201 accounts payable account. 1st July 107 equipment credit 100,000. 2nd July 103 merchandise inventory credit 850,000. 8th July cost of goods sold 20,000. 10th July cost of goods sold 16,600. 18th July cash 813,400. 18th July, cash 50,000. Closing balance in accounts payable account is 50,000 credit. 301 Johnson Capital 101 cash account 1st July 1 million credit. Closing balance in his account on the capital is 1 million credit. 302 Jason Drawings 31st July 101 cash 30,000 debit. Closing balance 30,000 debit. 401 Sales 6th July 101 cash 800,000 credit. 12th July accounts receivable 100,000 credit. 25th July accounts receivable 80,000 credit. Closing balance in sales account is 980,000 credit. 402 sales return and allowances 15th July 102 accounts receivable debit 12,000. Closing balance debit 12,000. Sales discount 403 102 accounts receivable 25th July 1,760 debit. Closing balance debit 1,760. 502 gas and oil expenses 28th July 101 cash 10,000 debit. Closing balance 10,000 debit. 501 cost of goods sold 6th July merchandise inventory debit 544,000. 12th July merchandise inventory 68,000. 15th July merchandise inventory 8,160. 25th July merchandise inventory 54,400. 8th July accounts payable 20,000 credit. 10th July accounts payable 16,600 credit. 7th July 101 cash 15,500. Closing balance in cost of goods sold account is 637,140 debit. 503 office supplies expense 3rd July 101 cash debit 2,000. Closing balance 2,000 debit. 505 insurance expense 5th July 101 cash 24,000 debit. Closing balance 24,000 debit. 506 salaries expense 15th July 101 cash 60,000 debit. Closing balance 60,000 debit. 507 rent expense 5th July 101 cash 36,000 debit. Closing balance 36,000 debit. Trial balance as of 31st July 2018. Account name trial balance debit credit 101 cash 745,340 debit. Accounts receivable 80,000 debit. Merchandise inventory 191,760 debit. Equipment 200,000 debit. Accounts payable 50,000 credit. Janssen Capital 1 million credit. Janssen Drawing 30,000 debit. Sales 980,000. Sales return and allowances 12,000. 403 sales discount 1,760. 501 cash cost of goods sold 637,140. Gas and oil expense 10,000 debit. Office supplies expense 2,000 debit. Insurance expense 24,000 debit. Salaries expense 60,000 debit. Rent expense 36,000 debit. Total debits 2,030,000. Total credits 2,030,000. Adjusting entries 1. The 1 month rent has expired. Prepaid rent debit 33,000. Rent expense credit 33,000 being the rent expense for 1 month. The depreciation on truck for the month is 3333. Depreciation expense debit 3333. Accumulated depreciation on equipment credit 3,333 being the depreciation expense for the month. 14,000 of advertising has been incurred but was unpaid and unrecorded. Advertising expense debit 14,000. Advertising payable 14,000 credit being the advertisement expense unpaid. The 1 month insurance has expired. Prepaid insurance 22,000 debit. Insurance expense credit 22,000 being the unexpired insurance transferred to prepaid insurance. A physical count of merchandise inventory revealed a balance on hand of 170,660. Cost of goods sold debit 21,100. Merchandise inventory credit to 21,100 being the adjustment to closing inventory 191,760 minus 176,60 is equal to 21,100. Remaining office supplies is 800. Office supplies debit 800. Office supplies expense credit 800 being the closing balance of office supplies. Accrued but not paid employee salary was 60,000. Salary expense debit 60,000. Salaries payable credit 60,000 being salaries outstanding for the month. Posting of adjusting entries into ledger accounts. 103 merchandise inventory. The adjustment entry is 31st July cost of goods sold credit 21,100 and the closing balance is 17660 debit. 501 cost of goods sold. The adjustment entry is 31st July 103 merchandise inventory 21,100 debit. The closing balance is 658,240 debit. 104 office supplies. 31st July 101 cash 800 debit balance. 106 prepaid rent. 31st July 106 prepaid rent expense 33,000 debit balance. Office supplies expense. Office supplies account credit 800. Balance is 1,200. 202 salaries payable account. 31st July 506 salaries expense credit 60,000. Credit balance 60,000. 504 depreciation expense. 31st July 108 accumulated depreciation 3,333 debit balance. 105 prepaid insurance. 31st July 505 insurance expense 22,000 debit balance. 108 accumulated depreciation equipment account. 31st July 504 depreciation expense 3,333 credit balance. 203 advertisement payable. 30th July 508 advertisement expense 14,000 credit balance. 505 insurance expense. 31st July 105 prepaid insurance 22,000 credit. Net balance in insurance expenses 2,000 debit. 506 salary expense. 31st July 202 salary payable 60,000 debit. Total 120,000 debit balance in salary expense account. 507 rent expense. 31st July prepaid rent 33,000 credit. Net balance of 3,000 debit balance in rent expense. Advertisement expense. 30th July 203 advertisement payable 14,000 debit balance. 10 column worksheet. Account name trial balance debit credit. Cash 745,340 debit. Accounts receivable 80,000 debit. Merchandise inventory 191,760 debit. Equipment 200,000 debit. Accounts payable 50,000 credit. Jansen Capital 1 million credit. Jansen Drawing 30,000 debit. Sales 980,000 credit. Sales returns and allowances 12,000. Sales discounts 1,760. Cost of goods sold 637,140. Gas and oil expense 10,000. Office supplies expense 2,000. Insurance expense 24,000. Salaries expense 60,000. Rent expense 36,000. Total debits 2,030,000. Total credits 2,030,000. Adjust merchandise inventory 21,100 credit. Office supplies 800 debit. Prepaid insurance 22,000 debit. Prepaid rent 30,000 debit. Accumulated depreciation equipment 3,333. Salaries payable 60,000. Advertising payable 14,000. Cost of goods sold 21,100. Office supplies expense 800. Depreciation expense 3,333. Insurance expense 22,000. Salaries expense 60,000 debit. Rent expense 33,000 credit. Advertisement expense 14,000 debit. Total debits 154,233. Total credits 154,233. Now adjusted trial balance. Cash 745,340 debit. Accounts receivable 80,000 debit. Merchandise inventory 170,660 debit. Office supplies 800 debit. Prepaid insurance 22,000 debit. Prepaid rent 33,000 debit. Equipment 200,000 debit. Accumulated depreciation on equipment 3,333. Accounts payable 50,000 credit. Salaries payable 60,000 credit. Advertising payable 14,000 credit. Janison Capital 1 million credit. Janison Drawing 30,000 debit. Sales 980,000 credit. Sales returns and allowances 12,000 debit. Sales discount 1,760. Cost of goods sold 658,240 debit. Gas and oil expenses 10,000 debit. Office supplies expense 1,200 debit. Depreciation expense 3,333 debit. Insurance expense 2,000 debit. Salaries expense 120,000 debit. Rent expense 3,000 debit. Advertising expense 14,000 debit. Total debits 2,107,333. Total credits 2,107,333. Income statement. In the 10 column worksheet, income summary debit 154,467, sales credit 980,000, sales returns and allowances 12,000, sales discount 1,760 debit, cost of goods sold 658,240 debit, gas and oil expenses 10,000 debit, office supplies expense 1,200 debit, depreciation expense 3,333 debit, insurance expense 2,000 debit, salaries expense 120,000 debit, rent expense 3,000 debit, advertisement expense 14,000 debit, total debits 980,000, total credits 980,000. The debit balance in income summary 154,467 is the profit. Balance sheet in 10 column worksheet. Cash debit 745,340, accounts receivable debit 80,000, merchandise inventory debit 170,660, office supplies debit 800, prepaid insurance debit 22,000, prepaid rent debit 33,000, equipment debit 200,000, accumulated depreciation on equipment 3,333, accounts payable 50,000 credit, salaries payable 60,000 credit, advertisement payable 14,000 credit, Janison capital 1 million credit, Janison drawings 30,000 debit. Income summary 154,467 credit, total debits 1,281,800, total credits 1,281,800. The income summary 154,467 credit is the profit. Income statement. On the credit side, 401 sales 980,000 less 402 sales returns 12,000 less 40 sales discount 1,760, total 966,240. On the debit side, cost of goods sold 658,240, gross profit 308,000, gross profit 308,000. On the debit side, expenses gas and oil expenses 10,000, office supplies expense 1,200, depreciation expense 3,333, insurance expense 2,000, salaries expense 120,000, rent expense 3,000, advertising expense 14,000. Net profit 154,467. Balance sheet. On the asset side, current assets cash 745,340, accounts receivable 80,000, merchandise inventory 170,660, office supplies 800, prepaid insurance 22,000, prepaid rent 33,000, total current assets 1,51,800, non-current assets equipment 200,000, accumulated depreciation equipment 3,333, net current assets 196,667, total assets 1,248,467, liabilities current liabilities, accounts payable 50,000, salaries payable 60,000, advertising payable 14,000, total current liabilities 124,000, owner's equity Janison capital 1 million, less drawings 30,000. Add income summary 154,467, total owner's equity 1,124,467, total liabilities plus owner's equity 1,248,467. Cash flow statement. Cash inflow Janison capital 1 million, sales 80,000, accounts receivable 86,240, total cash inflow 1,886,240, cash outflow equipment 100,000, office supplies expense 2,000, insurance expense 24,000, rent expense 36,000, cost of goods sold 15,500, accounts payable 813,400, salaries expense 60,000, accounts payable 50,000, gas and oil expense 10,000, Janison drawing 30,000, total cash outflow 1,140,900, balance cash on 30th July 2018 745,340. Closing entries July 2018, 31st July, sales debit 980,000, income summary credit 980,000, 31st July 303, income summary debit 825,533, 825,533, 402 sales returns credit 12,000, sales discount credit 1760, cost of goods sold credit 658,240, gas and oil expense credit 10,000, office supplies expense credit 1,200, depreciation expense credit 3,333, insurance expense credit 2,000, salaries expense credit 120,000, rent expense credit 3,000. Advertising expense credit 40,000, being the expenses during the month transferred to income summary. 31st July 303 income summary debit 154,467, owner's equity credit 154,467, being the net profit transferred to owner's equity. Post closing trial balance account titles debit credit cash debit 745,340, accounts receivable debit 80,000, merchandise inventory 176,60, office supplies 800,000, prepaid insurance 22,000, prepaid rent 33,000, equipment 200,000, accumulated depreciation on equipment 3,333, accounts payable 50,000 credit, salaries payable 60,000 credit, advertising payable 14,000 credit, generation capital 1,124,467, total debits 1,51,800, total credits 1,51,800. Recap. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel Accounts Lobby for various solved problems and lectures on accountancy.